So, welcome to a post Christmas edition of HBCU Live. I'm Kendrick Marshall, that's Chris Stevens, and Jared Hoffman. Be sure to visit our website and be sure to donate at hbcusports.com. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. Today, gentlemen, we got some breaking news we have been waiting for that didn't actually come out the way we thought it was. So Texas Southern's Board of Regents was supposed to make a decision today whether or not they would have a football coach, and they decided today was the day where they were not going to have a football coach. We all thought it was going to be Fred McNair or Andre Johnson, depending on who you're talking to be in line for the job to be their next coach. But they decided to table the decision today for an undetermined period of time. So, fellas, what is Texas Southern doing?
The silence speaks for itself. We don't know. Like literally, I honestly, just to start off, I feel horrible for Fred McNair. Let's just start that off because we've already discussed that, his reasons for walking away from a place where the only place that he's ever known, mind you, as a coach and coordinator and as an athlete and as a student. I mean, that probably took a lot out of him to be able to say, okay, I'm walking away, but I'm walking into a better situation. And the better situation turns out to be non-existent because, yeah, we don't know. Like, this man walked away from a guaranteed job and thought that he was going to be A-okay with going to Texas Southern. And then two Board of Regents are holding up the process. And now all of a sudden the elephant in the room has once again resurfaced, and that elephant in the room is former Houston Texans wide receiver Andre Johnson, who of course was recently named as part of the finalist group for the 2024 Hall of Fame inductions. So, I mean, we're talking about a tremendous athlete, but somebody who's again never coached before. Now, Deion Sanders coached high school football, so I can't say this is the same thing as the Prime effect. But then again, the splashy hire, we've talked about it before. HBCUs are so desperate for any sort of positive attention that they'll go ahead and say, okay, we'll just hire a guy because he has a name. How'd that work out for Grambling? Sorry, Ken. But, just it makes no sense. I mean, if you're going to hire a guy, hire a guy. College football is not a sport where you can kick the can down the road because before long, that can is going to end up veering off to a point where you can't go and get it back. And we're talking about recruits here because you've got the portal. Texas Southern's already missed early signing. At this rate, they might not even get to normal signings. So, I mean, we might not find out who Texas Southern coach is before we find out who's going to be the Republican nominee for president. I mean, we already know who that is. But, it's a foregone conclusion in that respect. But still, we just don't know what Texas Southern is doing at all.
Yeah, Jared Hoffman, your thoughts?
You asking us what Texas Southern is doing. You need to be asking Texas Southern that. I don't even know if they know what they're doing. Look, their early signing class had 3 recruits, as far as we know, that they publicized. Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman have signed more former 4-star recruits that Texas Southern has signed recruits that we know of. So, what I don't know what they're doing. Like I don't know what they're looking for. What is it that they're stuck on? What are their qualifications? What are they looking for? Like you got a guy in Fred McNair who's a proven commodity, led Alcorn State to how many division titles, how many conference titles, and he's a guy that has pedigree. He's a guy that has respect. He's a guy that will give you discipline in your locker room. I don't know what it is that you're missing with what is the hesitation. I understand Andre Johnson is a guy who is a Houston legend, was a Texan great, and is up for the Hall of Fame. I hope he gets in because he absolutely deserves it. But I don't understand what the speculation. What is the holdup? I don't understand because as Chris put it, you're pigeonholing yourself. Nobody is hurt in this situation but Texas Southern and the players in that locker room because you're already possibly about to lose Andrew Body to the transfer portal. You're already losing your star running back with Darius Owens to the NFL draft. So you need to build a team. You need to start building a team now, because your team is not going to be the same as it was last year or the year before when we thought it had promise to potentially be a contender. So you need to make some moves now. You need to take some risks now, because you're at the point where people are saying Fred McNair needs to just take his name out the hat for this job. I put this on Twitter earlier when we put out the news that they are at a stalemate. I was saying, why would anybody want this job? Because why would anybody want this job? They look like they are just making this up as they go, and it's ridiculous. And Texas Southern is suffering as a result.
Yeah, so within the last hour, athletic director Kevin Granger put out a statement that said the hiring of a head football coach is a strategic decision that cannot be taken lightly. The Board of Regents and I engaged in a positive discussions over the holidays. I am excited about our new leadership's bold strategic direction for TSU. I will be taking a few additional days to consider candidates for the coaching vacancy and will work closely with interim president Mary Evans Cias and the board to announce a hiring decision shortly. So, fellas, they're going to take more time. And he announced they're going to review additional candidates. So this means Fred McNair and Andre Johnson are not the only people that they're considering for this job. It's past Christmas, and they're not going to make a decision before the new year. So you're going to go through Thanksgiving, you're going to go through Christmas, and you're going to go through the new year, plus the early signing period without a head coach. Is this Texas Southern trying to do their due diligence, as they say? Is the school just being irresponsible at this point?
It's absolutely absurd, because they knew, like even when they tried to deny our esteemed publisher Ken Rashad's report, they knew that Clarence McKinney was out the door in October. So you can actually push this back to Halloween if we're keeping it a buck. Like, there's no denying that they knew for months that they were going to be looking for a new head coach for their football program. This isn't like, the person that shows up one day and just snaps at work and say, okay, we can't have this person coming back anymore. This is the person that comes in and messes up every day and says, well, we got to start figuring out ways to replace this person and have them, give them the benefit of the doubt of having an esteemed, a respectable exit, as they did with Clarence McKinney, because they knew they wouldn't bring Clarence McKinney back. They knew they weren't going to bring that man back months ago. And now here we are. Folks are going to be singing "All Lang Syne." I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this old tradition of letting the man of the house walk in the house first on New Year's Eve. People are going to be doing that. I know y'all have heard. I know black people. I know y'all have heard about the Black Eyed Peas thing. You got to have a spoonful of Black Eyed Peas on New Year's Eve. People are going to be doing that. And Texas Southern's still going to be trying to figure out who the heck their head coach is going to be. None of it makes any sense. None of it makes any sense. And the sad part about it is like you already are behind the 8 ball, because Grambling has a coach, Southern has a coach. Everybody else in the SWAC's coaching situation is squared away. Some folks may not be content with their coaching situations, but they already have them in place. They're already hitting the road recruiting. In some cases, we are, as we reported earlier this week, some coaches are enjoying themselves. Shouts out to TC Taylor and his brother Ryan shooting them deer out there in Mississippi. They already straight. They good, but Texas Southern is the only SWAC school that they can't get right. They can't get right. As the esteemed Lenithia Monique Leak said on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, "Who child, the ghetto," because that's what this is. This is a ghetto coaching search. And Texas Southern, their board of regents, their interim president, they let Megan Thee Stallion down, dog. They let Megan down because this is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody had, and with no end in sight. Because if you're not going to pick a coach before New Year's, then that means at least a whole other group of recruits are going to be looking elsewhere. And then, of course, Andrew Body's looking at this and saying, well, I'm darn sure not coming back here. So this is ridiculous. I mean, they knew in advance. I mean, again, this is all Texas Southern's own fault. No one else's but their own. They knew that McKinney was out the door in October, and now that they are going into New Year without a coach, they're going to have to face the consequences.
They should let Megan Thee Stallion pick the coach. How about that?
Oh, hey.
You probably make a better decision than the Board of Regents can. But
sure feels like it.
I mean, Look, they, as Chris said, they denied our report that they weren't bringing McKinney back. Instead of denying the report, they probably should have been starting their search right then and there. They should have been starting their search. How do you go through weeks of going back and forth between Fred McNair and Andre Johnson, and a month after you have been searching for a coach, now you're just starting to say that you're going to introduce new candidates? So that means you're probably not going to have a coach until the next couple of weeks into January. And as we have put it, normal signing day is in the first week of February. 3 weeks is not enough time for you to put together a credible signing class. Why would anybody from the transfer portal want to come here? That for their last year eligibility in a season where Texas Southern could very well possibly go 0-11. It's not new for them. They did it in 2019. So why would I want to go? Why would I want to go to a team that could very well go 0-11? Like we said, Andrew Body's gone. Ladarius Owens is gone. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some guys that hop in the portal. I wouldn't blame them if they did, because what kind of S-word show is this? I don't. What more can we say about this? There's nothing more than we can say about this than they are. I don't want to call them incompetent because I don't know who's on the Board of Regents, but this coaching search is showing them to be very incompetent, and they need to get it together sooner rather than later.
I don't know if it's incompetence, more so is like maybe a little bit of ego getting away, and maybe there's a power struggle within the board itself, because it was reported a few weeks ago that a couple of board members wanted Andre Johnson to be considered or be the head coach, and they couldn't even come to a quorum because of it. And now today, it's supposed to be a meeting at like 8 in the morning out in Houston, and we didn't hear anything for hours and hours and hours. And now a statement pops up from Kevin Granger saying, like, we're gonna take a little bit more time. Well, how much time do y'all need to make decisions on a football coach, especially with the parameters that Chris and Jared laid out about like the urgency that needs to happen to have a football coach? You need to recruit players, you need to get the staff together, you need to do all these things to be able to run a football program. I think, I don't know why they don't want Fred McNair. Like what about Fred McNair, guys, you think is making him so hesitant not to pick him, despite the fact he really wants that job?
Can you answer that question, Chris? Because I don't know.
You already said it, Jared. You don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. It is incompetence. These are people that don't know their behinds from a hole in the ground. Like you on one hand, you have Fred McNair, former all-SWAC quarterback, led Alcorn State to a couple of SWAC overall championships and celebration bowls, stepping in for Jay Hobson, who left on a spur of the moment to go to Southern Missouri, and no one's heard from Jay Hobson since. But on the other hand, you've got Andre Johnson. Yes, you've got one of the great wide receivers of his generation, but has never coached a down of football in his life. So you've got a proven commodity here, and you've got a splashy hire here. And you're going to go with the splashy hire because that's worked so well in the past. It didn't work. I mean, it worked kind of sort of for Jackson State. It's kind of sort of working for Tennessee State. It didn't work for Grambling. Sorry, Ken, once again. But let's be serious about this. If you're going to bring in a guy that hasn't coached a down of football, then you might as well just go ahead and go all in with the celebratorial nature of it. Just go ahead and have Ed Reed be the defensive coordinator. Bring in Warren Sapp as your D-line coach. I mean, if you want to, make Eric Bieniemy your offensive coordinator. Apparently, the Washington Commanders fan base is already tired of him, but they're stupid anyway, so that really doesn't, take that with a grain of salt. But if you're going to go all in, just go all in with the celebratorial nature of it and just make your program a sideshow, because you darn sure don't plan on competing in 2024 if you're pulling this stuff. Because Fred McNair. Again, I feel so terrible for him because this man stepped away from a sure thing at his alma mater. Now I can see, if he had, I would still feel bad for him. If he had stepped away from, say, Prairie View or Pine Bluff or Mississippi Valley State, regardless where he come from. I mean, but no one likes to, go through the process of applying for a job, these multiple interviews, because we've all done it. We've all been to jobs where we've applied for different positions and different, had to talk to HR, had to talk to this hiring manager, had to talk to this head of staff and this person. And, we've all jumped through hoops for jobs before. I mean, it's the way of the capitalistic society. There's no getting around it. But Fred McNair is the last person I would expect to have to jump through hoops for people who just don't know what the heck they want. And it's just the nature of it is just all very remedial. And I'm sorry to say that word, but it is what it is. And it's just very disappointing. And Fred McNair, whatever comes out of this, I hope something good comes out of this for him, because right now this does not look like a job he needs anyway.
So Jared, Jared, you think like Fred McNair should want the job anymore?
No. I would say take my name out the ring. Take my name out the running. I don't want it. Because you're showing me that you don't want me in anyway. If you wanted me, you would have signed me when there were reports that were saying that Fred McNair is up for the job. If you didn't want me then, and I'm competing against somebody, as Chris said multiple times, and it can't be said enough, somebody that's never coached. You think about this. Somebody who has won 2 SWAC championships as a head coach is they are having doubts about signing him because they want to sign somebody who has never coached. That makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. And I like that you brought up Ed Reed. So let's examine the Ed Reed and Bethune-Cookman situation. Bethune-Cookman hired Ed Reed in December. Well, they had expressed interest in him and agreed in principle to hire Ed Reed in December. The Ed Reed situation faltered out. They hire Raymond Woody, who Bethune-Cookman's his alma mater, and he has a long coaching history. But what did Bethune-Cookman do? They collaborated with the players to think of good candidates for the job. And Bethune-Cookman, although they had another losing season this year, are reaping the benefits of that signing. In this offseason, they have signed multiple 4-star recruits, multiple 3-star recruits, probably their best signing class since they've been in the SWAC. So you saw Bethune-Cookman go through what they went through with Ed Reed, and that wasn't their fault. This is your fault.
Yes.
This isn't a situation of one of your guys that you're interested in hiring bad mouthing your school because he had to pick up trash when he didn't even need to be on campus in the first place. This is you wanting to hire a coach but can't decide between a proven commodity who has won 2 SWAC championships and another guy who was an all-time great wide receiver but has never coached in his life. Or maybe he's coached in his life, but has never coached collegiate football. I don't understand it. I don't get it. So should Fred McNair want the job? No. He should take the contract, the imaginary contract, blow his nose with it, and throw it away. I wouldn't want it. I don't want it. Take it. I don't want it.
Yeah, that would be something to see. Him going to Kevin Gaines like, here, man, I appreciate the offer, but here you go. Yeah, that would be crazy, man. But like Fred McNair is the most respected coach, not just in the SWAC, but in like football coaching circles everywhere. And to treat that man like this, like, I don't know how you get a respectable coach in there. I know like coaches are mercenaries and like coaches are opportunities and whatnot, but still, like, you treat Fred McNair this way, how you gonna treat another guy who has less credentials and accomplishments than he does?
Let me tell you something about how respected Fred McNair is. Most Alcorn State fans will remember I put out a power ranking of the SWAC head coaches before the 2023 season. I put Fred McNair at number 3. They were on my neck like I put him at number 12. They were in my mentions like this is a stupid list. How do you not put Fred McNair at number 1? He's won the SWAC already. Willie Simmons ain't even got nothing. He never won nothing. You would think I put him at number 12. You would think I forgot to mention his name. That's how respected he is. And these weren't players. These were fans. There was even people who didn't go to Alcorn State that were getting on my neck about where I put Fred McNair on that list. That's how respected that man is. And you are doubtful about hiring him over somebody who hasn't coached. That I don't understand it. None of us here has a logical explanation for what is taking so long and them hiring anybody, let alone somebody that is as respected in HBCU quarters as Fred McNair. None of us can explain it.
To your question, Jared, about like why would they consider hiring Andre Johnson with no experience? And I got to thinking about what happened at Southern when we were made privy to the board meeting there, and a couple of their board members were like, well, we should hire someone in the same vein of Deion Sanders. I think the attraction there is to hire a coach of that vein who they think can bring resources and notoriety and respect immediately to the larger community, more so than Fred McNair, who people might believe or might not believe can have people galvanized in that same way. Now, we all know that like Andre Johnson has no coaching background in his history post retirement from the Texans, but yet he's a big name in the city, respected name in the city. There's a lot of community service work there. People can think, well, he gets stuff done if he's the head coach. People will flock to give him resources, will give him attention, will be able to recruit more easier in the city and around the state because of his name, while Fred McNair, while accomplished and the brother of a Hall of Famer, can't have those same qualities and impact. But Chris, I ask you, if you were in the seat that Kevin Granger is, you think like maybe this board of regents is disrespecting your authority by wanting to hire a coach, and at the end of the day, they say, hey, we want to go with our own conviction about who we think we should be the head coach.
Glad you asked me that because I've been thinking about that since the column I wrote last week. If you guys have time to check it out on hbcusports.com, you can see that it'll be titled "Plenty of Blame to Go Around for Texas Southern Coaching Situation." I was harsh on Kevin Granger because I felt really annoyed that he was the one in front of the statement that denied Kendra's report about Clarence McKinney being out the door. Then when I started to think about it, I was like, this man ain't got no more charge than I'm in charge of the Amazon fulfillment center down the street from my house. I mean, you know, he's at the whims, he's at the mercy of the Board of Regents. And it's very disappointing that as an athletic director, you can't be trusted to name your guy when you're trusted with the welfare, well-being, and development of an athletic department with hundreds of thousands of athletes. So if I'm Kevin Granger, yes, I feel very disrespected, and I'm feeling like, okay, how far can I go in this position at this university? Because it seems to me that Fred McNair was the choice for him. And now the Board of Regents like, oh, no, we're not sure about Fred McNair. Let's bring in Andre Johnson. Now I'm going to bring a real quick frame of reference up real quick because I can't help myself. As far as Kendrick's point about Andre Johnson possibly bringing in resources, you know, being able to galvanize the community, different things of that nature. Yes, that could possibly happen, but I can tell you a place where it didn't happen. And we had one of the more famed alumnus of our school coaching, and that was at Delaware State with Rod Milstead. And Rod Milstead led that DSU football team to its best back-to-back seasons in 7 or 8 years before he got fired last December. And he was an alum, mind you. This was a man who was a 3-time All-MEAC lineman. Played on the Super Bowl winning team with Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Deion Sanders, Steve Young, Ricky Waters, Bryant Young, Ricky Jackson. You know, I can name the whole 49er crew because that was my team way back then. But anyway, it didn't work out for Del State and Rod Milstead because nobody gave a damn about the football program. And, you know, Andre Johnson might be able to get some more resources to the Texas Southern athletic program and the football team. But at some point you have to start, you know, looking at the people who are just like, you know, laissez-faire about the whole situation. You know, people who aren't really invested. You've got to get an investment with your alumni base, with your students, with their parents. And you can't just rely on a guy who played 15 seasons in your city to do it. Yes, it's a nice thought, but it's not the only thought. And I want HBCUs to stop thinking that just because this person's a name brand, that they're going to bring all sorts of, money trees with them, because money doesn't grow on trees. And you can't build a program by just a name only. So, yeah, if I'm Kevin Granger right now, I'm really wondering how far I can go in this position if the Board of Regents is breathing down my neck every 15 seconds.
Yeah, like I also wonder, like, would this decision have already happened if the school had a permanent president? Because they don't have a permanent president in place right now. So you're going to allow an interim president to possibly influence a decision on who you hire a head coach, and that person may not be around for the tenure of that head coach. That's kind of interesting to me. And I'm wondering, but because of that premise that the board is kind of like taking advantage of that, or they really do have the best interest of the school in mind. I don't think they do in that regard. Like I said before, I think it's like a big ego play with them, because if you got dissent within the ranks, that means everybody not on the same page. Everybody on the same page, that means decisions won't be made quickly. And so we're coming up on 2024, and yeah, you haven't had a football coach since the end of November, if we're if we got that right. And we're coming up on a period where it's very critical for the football team to be able to get recruits. Like, they haven't even named the interim coach, I don't think, after McKinney was contract not renewed. So they don't have anybody working on behalf of their football staff in official capacity right now. So they're gonna go into 2024 having to play a boatload of catch up in an environment where every other school in the country already has a head coach. So they're behind the 8 ball, so much so that I don't know how even the 2024 season can even be salvaged, because whatever coach they get in there, whether it be in January or whenever they decide to name one, he's gonna have a tall task at hand and try to get that football team together and organized and rolling for a season to start. So fellas, like, you think like Texas Southern will be able to even compete next season for a SWAC West Championship based on their current circumstance?
They'll be lucky if they win a game. Competing in no SWAC West and no SWAC. They'll be lucky if they get Lincoln, California on their schedule. They'll win a game. We can forget about them competing in the SWAC West. But I just want to talk about real quick, as you brought up them wanting to have a guy that can make a splash, with name cachet. And we always bring up Dion when we talk about that. Can we stop? Coaches who are looking for that celebrity splash hire. Everybody ain't Dion. Dion is not just a Hall of Fame football player. He is a guy that transcended his sport. He was famous outside of those 100 yards. 120 yards, whatever, however long a football field is. He is more famous as an athlete than most that we've ever seen. He was a guy that was a what's that word for it? So he was basically a celebrity beyond just being a phenomenal athlete or a well-known athlete. Like, can we stop that? He is a guy that has more charisma, more his ability to communicate to you, to fire you up, his marketing ability is different than anybody that we have ever seen. That's why he was able to recruit that class he did after the 2020 spring season when they only went 4-3. He put together a squad for that 2021 team. Only Dion could have been able to do that. Only Dion could have been able to recruit a Travis Hunter to Jackson State. Only Dion could have been able to do that, because he's the only guy with the name cachet that can say, I know how to maximize your talent. I know how to get you prepared to play at the next level in the NFL. Because what Travis Hunter is doing right now in Colorado, Deion was doing that 30 years ago. Ain't too many other coaches that know how to coach a Travis Hunter like Deion can, because he did it. So can we stop acting like there's a bunch of other Deion Sanderses out there? I don't care if Morgan State hires Ray Lewis. Well, Ray Lewis can probably do that, but ain't too many other players that can, like, probably Cam Newton, probably Ray Lewis, probably Ed Reed if he knew how to act right, probably Jerry Rice if he was even interested in coaching, probably Shannon if he was interested in coaching, but ain't too many players who are attainable that can do what those guys can, because they don't have the, even though Andre Johnson is we know Andre Johnson because we are football fans, but ain't too many casual guys, especially guys who are coming up now, that probably watched Andre Johnson when he was on the Texans. So yes, Andre Johnson could possibly recruit those guys and let them know how good he was at football, but they not thinking about that. So you gotta go with somebody that knows how to recruit, that has been through the grind of the recruiting trail, that knows what it's like to be to come up and as a HBCU prospect. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't play around with this. They talking about they can't play around with this. They have been playing around with this. So I just want to stop that notion that every former NFL player is going to come into HBCU football and have the same success as Deion did. It's not going to happen, because you got to have the name cachet is important, but you got to have a mindset too. That's why Ed Reed didn't succeed at it, because he didn't have the right mindset when he came into it. So yeah, I just want to stop all those comparisons to Deion. Like every celebrity hiring is going to be Deion, because it's not.
Look at Tennessee State. The reason why Eddie George is there because their administration thought they could duplicate what they did with Deion, and it hadn't worked out the same way. I mean, Tennessee State got better last year, but nowhere to the level the JSU did. And we don't. While Tennessee State is a I would say solid football team, they haven't acquired the same caliber of recruits the JSU did, despite the fact having Eddie George, who's a Heisman Trophy winner, college football Hall of Famer, is in those stupid Heisman House commercials you see run every 15 minutes during college football games, and is a NFL Hall of Fame finalist. He's not getting the type of players that Deion Sanders got at Jackson State and is getting in Colorado, because he don't have the same type of cachet, the same type of personality. He isn't the type of person that you galvanize toward in that same way. So I don't think Andre Johnson is either, to be honest with you. Like, I never heard him even talk before, I don't think. there's that one clip of him beating up was it Cortland Finnegan that one time? Yeah.
I mean, if you want a guy to preach toughness, then I mean, yeah, you could just run that clip over and over again. But yeah, other than that, I mean, he hasn't been like a media darling by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, there's no Andre Johnson
for you.
Yeah, there's no Andre Johnson effect, I don't think, nationally, like there is with Deion Sanders. So I know it's going to be a hard question to answer, and I'm going to ask it anyway. This will be my last question for this particular subject matter. But, like, when do you guys think they'll make a decision on hiring anybody at this point? Chris?
They say we will know when something comes out of the sea with 7 heads and a face like a serpent and a body like a lion. I don't know about you, but I don't really know nobody that looks like that. No, seriously. I had to use that Richard Pryor reference real quick about when racism would be over. But if you had to make me guess, I would guess probably I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna put it on Martin Luther King's 95th birthday, January 15th. I'll say January 15th. We'll know who's the coach, and then we'll talk about how they rushed through that process, whether it's Andre, whether it's Coach McNair, or whether it's Ed Reed, or even if it's Warren Moon. I don't know. Maybe Warren Moon threw his name to that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna say January 15th.
I don't know. When pigs fly, when like January 32nd, I don't know. Like shoot, when they stop, when they use common sense, that's when they'll hire a coach. I guess. Like, if you want me to give a real date, I'll say by the end of the first week of January. They better not let a week in January go by without them having hired a coach. Because if they ain't got a coach by the first week of January, they can kiss signing day goodbye. It's over. It's over with. And they going on. I'm gonna say this right now. Unless they got Lincoln, California, on their schedule, or they got the other school that got their own problems, we know who we talking about. Unless they got them on their schedule, they going 0-11 next season. Put this down right now. They're going 0-11. They not winning the conference game next year. That's out of there. I can confidently say that they are not winning the conference game next year.
We got the tape now, so we play this back. They win. If they go win 10 year, you in trouble, man.
Hey, and if I'm wrong, I'm just fine being wrong. But I'm putting it right here, right now. They are not winning the conference game next year. But they'll probably hire a coach by the first week of January.
I'm wondering whether or not Clarence McKinney, I'm glad I'm not there anymore.
Oh, you're
It's a crap show that's going on. I mean, he wasn't successful there, but still, God knows what I had to put up with this administration all those years at Texas Southern.
Well, let me ask you this: do we blame Clarence McKinney for their struggles now? Do we look at him and think maybe he was better than we thought? getting 5 wins out of this school, and with all they got going on, I'm kind of looking at him like, hey, you was probably better off.
That's a good point, because I don't know how any coach could possibly function in what we now know is kind of this dysfunction within the ranks at the university. I know Harold Jackson talked about it on his way out from Grambling State about how behind the scenes it was a lot of challenges you had to face just to try to get the football program in the state where it could be self-sufficient. But Texas Southern, they got a lot more money than Grambling does. So you would think they have all their ducks in a row. But to have a Board of Regents hold this thing up for almost a month now, that's almost unprecedented, especially in this age we live in, the transfer portal and recruiting and how that works and how demand a lot of coaches are. Unless they know something that we don't know, I don't know why they feel like they can just delay this process like they delayed it. But as the guy said, we'll find out in 2024 who their coach will be if they have a football coach. Maybe they have an AI football coach. I don't know. An esports coach. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna have the esports coach to be the football coach. I'm Kendrick Marshall. That's Chris Stevens. Jared Hoffman is not happy, but he participated anyway. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time on our program.